What does Mental Health Day mean to you?
To me, Mental Health Day brings up what, for a long time was considered like an uncomfortable topic to talk about. We've come in leaps and bounds in terms of, how we look at mental health. I still think that, somewhat there is a bit of a stigma attached to it. And I think days like this is just a really good opportunity to bring the conversation back up.
What steps do you take to stay on top of your mental health?
So for me personally, the small steps that I take to stay on top of my mental health are, number one, I've got a to-do list every day. It's on my fridge, it's laminated, so every week I can wipe it off, and that's just simple stuff such as getting out of bed, brushing my teeth, having a shower, having my 3 square meals a day, and drink water. Other things that I do is I exercise, whether it's, a walk around the block or, a 2 or 5K walk every day. I always make an effort to get out at least once. For me personally, to stay on top of my mental health, sobriety is a big thing for me. With alcohol and drugs either being depressants or, they can exacerbate problems pretty badly. And another thing that I always like to remind myself, if I'm ever feeling down or anything like that is, you have to love yourself. Whether it be what you wear or who you are, how you react to other people, how you interact with them, just be proud of the person that you are. That was one bit of advice and my dad doesn't have much advice, but that was one key thing that really stuck with me growing up is, you have to make sure that you love yourself and be happy with what you're doing.
How has your mental health been impacted more so during this time of COVID?
For me personally, the COVID situation, it hasn't affected me greatly in the sense that I've, been in Queensland most of the time where we did have restrictions for a little bit, but not for too long. The hardest part with COVID for me personally has been, just being apart from family down in Victoria, especially through, going through hard times as well. Because as much as, phone calls and emails and video calls as well, it's great, but sometimes you need that human-to-human interaction.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So that's been the biggest struggle for me is just, missing family.
Yeah. And that's really hard. Even my parents just live down the street. And even then it's you're so close yet so far away because I can't go to your house or anything. So
it's frustrating for me because in order to be in a good headspace, structure is a very big thing for me.
Yeah.
And at the moment, getting up, doing my work, taking care of myself throughout the day, I like to be centered and I like to be in the one spot for it. My dad lives just over the border in New South Wales, but he's just outside of the border bubble that we have.
What would you say to others who may be struggling at the moment with their mental health?
To those that are struggling with their mental health, I'd say you have nothing to lose by speaking to someone at all. Whether it be a psychologist, a counsellor, psychotherapist for deep-seated trauma, whether or not it's, calling Lifeline, Beyond Blue, anything like that, you really have nothing to lose. By talking to people like that and just releasing some of the issues and problems that you do have, if you feel 10% better after the fact, that's a positive. And, it's really hard to get caught up in the negatives when, you are in such a state, especially a depressive state. So you really need to get those little wins.
Yeah.
More than anything, I just implore anyone that's struggling with their mental health to talk to someone. This is coming from a personal place. If you do, choose to speak to someone after a while, Don't be discouraged if you don't have a connection with that person straight away. It took me multiple times. Like I saw probably 3 or 4 people, tried to speak to them, didn't feel that connection. And the person I'm actually talking to now, he's great. And, you know, personally, I've come on leaps and bounds since talking to him. So
what have you learned throughout your own journey with mental health?
What I've learned throughout my own journey is to take every emotion as they are. So, and to elaborate on that more, for every positive emotion that you do have, there's always going to be a negative. You know, such as you feel happiness, of course, at one stage you're going to feel pain. If you feel love, of course, at one stage you're going to feel loss. It's an unfortunate thing. It's just part of life.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the journey too. Some of it's hard, some of it's great. That's all part of it.
Yeah.
Just being able to recognize, you know, how you're feeling at the time and just dealing with it and, you know, writing it out.
Yeah. Would you say not holding on to it?
Yeah, definitely letting it go. Yeah, you know, take every emotion for what they are. But also just letting it go too. The more you carry, the heavier you're going to get over time. And I guess another thing as well is, and this is like a pretty big thing too, because like I've, you know, dealt with these type of thoughts over the years. Luckily, I'm in a great place now, but I read this quote years back and it really stuck with me. And, you know, when it comes to suicide, which is, you know, really, it's the end result of, you know, really bad mental health. It is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you look at when you look at all problems for what they really are too, all of them are temporary. Like you can work through everything. It's just a matter of, you know, putting the correct processes in place. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. That's it.
Don't be a dick.